there are certain things there are certain things that I've seen. There are certain things I've seen being online. There's a lot of advantages. There's a lot of advantages of the internet, and in any case, the way the world is, it's like it will expose itself to you one way or another, unless you turn out to be very lucky and pampered, that you never have to deal with really the true ugliness of the world. You never have to see it. If you're, there's people who never have to deal with that. Good for you, I suppose, right? To whatever advantages or disadvantages. In any case, I started off with a tangent. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I've seen, there are certain things that I've seen, and thank God I don't have to live them in person. Thank God very much. I've only really seen them I've seen them safely behind my computer, behind my phone, behind my phone screen. I've been very safe in all the time that I've viewed these things. There's a war going on in another country, and I'm looking at it on my phone. I'm looking at a video recording of a Mexican cartel beheading. ISIS videos, Syria, people getting thrown in holes and shot. I've seen some terrible things, which, even then I still quite recognize how lucky I am. But in any case, as a result of the things that I've seen and thought about, I'm not no, World War or World War veteran. I'm not no soldier or whatever. But for a normal person, when you see certain things that you're not normally supposed to see, I'd like to think I'm a normal person, but really, man, I'm always just shooting off and do tangents. But what I'm trying to say really is, looking at children and other people going about their days like normal, it makes me sad. It makes me sad. I just, you see some things, you see some atrocious things, and then you go out and you drive around and you look around, and people are just, they're just having fun. They're just living about their normal days. You see a father, you see a mother, you see a little child. You see a whole family just walking together. They're just walking together. They're just, attending church, attending a function, some celebration, some happy event. They're just normal. They don't, they're not in a state of panic. They're not under siege. They're not hiding. They're not, lining up in a food line for eating rations, right? They're not being led blindfolded to be knelt down and executed, and for the little ones and the teenagers to be assaulted. They're not being tortured, right? Like they're not being shot. Tanks roaming about the streets. Blood in people's kitchens. In bedrooms. It's like it's none of that. It's not. It's everything's nice. There's no wartime. We're not living in wartime. We're taking things for granted. And why wouldn't we? Everything's just fine, right? We're not in an Islamic state where adultery is punished by stoning. They have you. They dig a hole. They make you stand in the hole, and you know, they have you, they force you to confess, your adultery. You know, whether you did it or not, they do believe that you committed adultery, and you know now they've decided to stone you. And the guy, he's talking to you all very logical, right? He's just talking to you like he's the ultimate arbiter of justice. You know, everything he's telling you is logical. He's explaining to you exactly why he's going to have you stoned by all these people. You know, your father is there too, and you're asking your father, you know, Father, forgive me. You know, he just outright refuses, and he's actually siding with the guy that's planning to stone you with all those other villagers. You know, and you're crying. You know, you're not even crying. You're just begging your father to forgive you, and you admit to your crime of adultery. You know, it's like you're just there, like you're asking your father to forgive you. You're like, your father is actually a cruel bastard. He actually turns out to be among the people who even stone you to death, right? He's among the people throwing the rocks. You know, and you know, even the devil that has everything set up, you know, he's telling the guy, hey, maybe you should like to forgive your daughter, you know, but before we have her stoned, right? And hey, man, maybe just forgive her. He's like, no, I cannot bring myself to forgive her. You know, I cannot. No, I can't do it. Right? It's like we're not living in any. Depending on where you are hearing this, right? I'm in a state that atrocity is not a normal everyday thing, right? Atrocity is the kind of thing you see on your screen on the other side of the world, right? Atrocity is filtered through our daily lives. Right? We live in I live in a very humble place. You know, thank God, right? Everything is very nice. Everything's quite nice here. So, but you know, considering that I hate to be ignorant, and so I seek out atrocious matters, and I see certain things. It makes me sad when I see kids just walking around. And just walking around, you know, minding their own business, you know, just cursing, just laughing at stuff. You know, it just makes me sad. Like, you know, it's like I'm happy for them. Like, they're so ignorant, but you know, they're happy and they don't have to be aware of any terrible things going on the other side of the world, or even in some dark corner of their neighborhood. It's like I'm very happy for them, but it just makes me sad to look at them, right? Because that's just not how the world is. And you know, you never know when things will fall apart, and all you can ever really be is grateful. You can only ever be grateful. But I don't know, it's every time I see people just happy, just walking around, you know, normal people, you know, it's like you can be suspicious of people, right? Certain people who are walking around with ski masks and whatnot. There are certain people you can be suspicious of. It's like, is this a good person? Is this a person out to harm someone, or are they just normal, or just some ski mask enthusiast, right? But you know, for the most part, you know, like you see a father with their little daughter, you know, and his wife. You know, like you see just kids walking around minding their own business, or just you know, goofing around, you know, goofing off. Maybe there are some troublesome kids, right? But you know, they're normal kids, you know, by all intents and purposes, and they don't really know much or anything about war, and they've never lived in a place. They've never been the kinds of kids to have to walk streets where they come to learn the difference between the skull of a dog and the skull of a human being, right? It's like they're just not those kinds of unfortunate kids. And in any case, just seeing things in peaceful times. You know, I've never been to war, but I always imagine how much worse things can be, how much worse things could be, and I'm grateful for what I have, but at the same time, it makes me sad when I see when I see kids just walking around, you know, without any knowledge of how much worse things can be. I always think it's like, I don't know, things won't always be like that, right? You never really know. And the world isn't like that either. So maybe that's obtuse. It's like I'm happy and sad at the same time. You know? And there's this big storm that's all around us, and we're in the middle of it. And it's calm, but it's everywhere. And things are okay now, but you never know.